Not every situation, not every phenomenon can be appropriately described by words. The Endurance Expedition in the years 1914 to 1916 was led by Sir Ernest Shackleton. The mission of this imperial expedition was to cross Antarctica from sea to sea. Unfortunately, his ship, the Endurance, became trapped in pack ice in the Weddell Sea and was eventually crushed and sunk in November 1915, stranding all his 28 crewmen on the ice. Shackleton made an extraordinary decision to sail an open lifeboat, the so-called James Caird, just 22 feet long, across 800 miles of the South Atlantic Ocean, one of the most treacherous stretches of water on Earth, to reach South Georgia Island and find help. After 17 days at sea, in hurricane-forced conditions, they reached the uninhabited southern coast of South Georgia in May 1916. The whaling station Stromness, their destination and their only hope of rescue, was on the opposite side of the island. The interior of the island was an unmapped, glaciated mountain range that no one had ever crossed. Shackleton selected only 2 of his companions for the crossing: Frank Worsley, the ship's captain and navigator, and Tom Crean, enormously experienced Irish sailor. The crossing took approximately 36 hours of continuous travel through blizzards, glaciers, over mountain ridges, and in near total darkness with no rest. They did not depart with any sleeping bags. Towards the end of their crossing, all 3 men independently became aware of something extraordinary. Shackleton's own words, written in his memoir, South, 1919, I quote directly: "When I look back at those days, I have no doubt that Providence guided us, not only across those snow fields, but across the storm-white sea that separated Elephant Island from our landing place on South Georgia. I know that during that long and racking march of 36 hours over the unmanned mountains and glaciers of South Georgia, it seemed to me often that we were 4, not 3. This is surprising. All 3 men reported the same experience, separately, without initially discussing it with each other. Frank Worsley later wrote, I quote, "I said nothing to the others, but I was aware of another presence guiding us, as though someone else was with us on that march." The third man factor, which we are discussing today, was reported by a significant number of people. The list is long. A number of them, for example, Charles Lindbergh, he conducted a solo transatlantic flight. In 1927, he reported ghostly presences in the cockpit advising him what to do. Reinhold Messner, he ascended Mount Everest. Ron DeFrancesco, he's one of the last survivors to escape the South Tower on September 11th, the Twin Towers attack. He reported a presence guiding him out. So accounts of all these survivors point at common characteristics of the third man. The third man feels benevolent and protective, never threatening. The third man may speak or communicate directions or communicate encouragement. The third man is experienced as distinctly separate from the person's own mind. The third man appears during survival situations. The third man disappears once the danger has passed, and The third man is often described as a calming and even euphoric experiences. So, science says the temporoparietal junction of our brain is involved in the body scheme and the sense of self. So, science says that this area of the brain, under low oxygen, under low body temperatures, or even extreme stress, it may generate sensed presences similar to seizure or conversion auras. In fact, the Swiss neuroscientist Olaf Blank demonstrated in 2014 that stimulating this region artificially can induce a sensed presence. So, Blank, during his 2006 experiment of direct brain stimulation of the temporoparietal junction, the area of the brain we mentioned earlier. So, these are the results of his experiment. So, at low intensity of the electricity, the patient reported, I quote, "I feel a strange presence behind me, like a person, but when I turn around, there is no one there." So when the intensity was increased, she described the presence as getting closer to her, mimicking her posture. If she leaned forward, the presence leaned forward. If she sat up, it is sat up. However, the third characteristic is the most differentiating characteristic. The feeling of threatening and menacing. Unlike the third man, the artificially produced sense, it is invoking fear in the participants. The spirit of healing and redemption finds people in their most helpless situations and provides a way out. There is a reason why the divine intervention is mostly encountered in extreme situations. Our effort contributes little to our success in these situations. It makes us realize that there are external unknown forces that have been assisting us to achieve our goals. And always we take the whole credit until the day of trouble. So encounters with the divine change people significantly, and they change people's experiences of life. Peace and assurance are the most prominent. You love those who hate you. You forgive and leave behind damages caused by those who wronged you. You give peace those who wanted to take you down. You seek justice. You don't discriminate, and you give the world more than it deserves. This is the light burden, the light yoke described in Matthew chapter 11, verse 29 to 30. I quote directly, "Take my yoke upon you and learn from me, for I am gentle and lowly in heart, and you will find rest for your souls." Verse 30 says, "For my yoke is easy and my burden is light."